Retirement represents a shift, not just in how you spend your time, but in what you actually need to own. Before we dive in, remember that everyone's situation is unique, so consider your own circumstances and consult with professionals when needed. But let's talk about what generally makes sense for most people approaching retirement. Things that made perfect sense during your working years can become anchors once you're living on a fixed income. The strategic move is to identify what no longer serves you and convert those assets into cash or simplified arrangements before you retire, not after. Selling while you're still working gives you more options, less stress, and better timing than trying to unload things when you're already stretched thin. Let's walk through 7 things you should seriously consider selling before you make that transition into retirement. The first thing to think about is that second vehicle sitting in your driveway. Many working couples have 2 cars because they need them for 2 separate commutes. Maybe one of you worked across town or had different hours, and having 2 cars was just necessary. Now that you're approaching retirement, or maybe already there, ask yourself honestly how often you both need to be in different places at the same time. The answer is probably not that often. Every vehicle you own costs money beyond the initial purchase price. Insurance, registration, maintenance, depreciation, even if you're not driving it much. Keeping an extra car just because you've always had 2 cars is an expensive habit that can cost you $3,000 to $5,000 a year or more. Selling one while it still has decent value puts cash in your pocket and eliminates ongoing costs. If you occasionally need a second vehicle for a day or two, renting one is far cheaper than maintaining one year-round. The same logic applies if you have a truck or larger SUV that you need for work purposes or hauling kids and equipment around. If you're not using it for those purposes anymore, downsizing to a single, reliable, fuel-efficient car makes financial sense. The money you get from selling, combined with the savings on insurance and maintenance, is significant when you're managing a retirement budget. The second item is the most emotionally complex, but potentially the most financially impactful. Your current home, if it's larger than you need. This isn't for everyone, but hear me out. If you're living in a 3 or 4 bedroom house that you raised your family in, and now it's just you and your spouse, you're paying to maintain, heat, cool, and ensure a lot of space you're not really using. Downsizing before retirement, rather than after, gives you more control over the process. You can take your time finding a smaller place that truly fits your retirement lifestyle. Whether that's a condo, a smaller house, or even a nice apartment where someone else handles the maintenance. You can use the equity from selling to pay off any remaining mortgage, so you have no housing payment at all. Or you can invest that money to provide additional retirement income. The emotional attachment is real and valid. This is where you raised your kids and built your memories. But the house itself isn't the memories. You carry those with you. And sometimes that big house has become more burden than blessing, with maintenance you can't easily handle, stairs that are getting harder to navigate, a yard that's too much work, and costs that eat into your retirement budget. Selling while you're still working means you're making the decision proactively, rather than being forced to sell later because you can't afford the upkeep or property taxes. You're choosing to move towards something that better fits your current life and your retirement budget. Third is all that extra furniture and household items you've accumulated over decades. When you've lived in the same place for 20 or 30 years, you accumulate things. Extra dressers, tables, chairs, kitchen items you never use, linens and towels beyond what you need, decorations that don't match your style anymore, books you'll never read again, and outdated electronics. Most people approaching retirement have way more stuff than they need or use. Some of it has value, even if it's not a lot. Quality furniture, working appliances, kitchen items, tools, and household goods can be sold before you retire. Have a serious garage sale, list items online, or call a local consignment shop. Even if you only make a few $100 or $1,000 total, that's money in your pocket. More importantly, clearing this out now means you're living lighter and simpler, retiring. If you do decide to downsize your home later, you've already done the hard work of sorting through everything. You're not overwhelmed trying to deal with decades of accumulation all at once. Start now, sell what has value, donate what doesn't, and keep only what you actually use and love. The fourth thing is any timeshare or vacation club membership you might have. If you bought into one of these years ago, you know they come with annual maintenance fees that keep going up, and they're notoriously difficult to get out of. Maybe you used it regularly when you were working and had limited vacation time. But now that you're approaching retirement, you'll have more flexibility to travel when and where you want without being locked into specific locations or weeks. Timeshares are hard to sell because the resale market is flooded with people trying to get out of them, but it's still worth trying before you retire. Some companies specialize in timeshare exits, though be careful of scams in this area. Some people end up giving their timeshare away just to stop paying the annual fees, and honestly, that might be worth it to free yourself from the ongoing cost. If you have a gym membership you signed up for years ago but barely use, a warehouse club membership that made sense when you were buying for a family but doesn't anymore, or other recurring memberships that auto-renew every year, now is the time to cancel them. Every recurring expense you eliminate before retirement is money that stays in your pocket every single month going forward. Fifth on the list is hobby equipment and tools that you bought with good intentions but aren't actually using. Maybe it's that treadmill or exercise bike that's become a clothes hanger. Maybe it's woodworking tools from when you thought you'd build furniture. Maybe it's camping gear, golf clubs you haven't swung in years, a keyboard you were going to learn to play, or craft supplies for projects you never got around to. These items cost money when you bought them. They're taking up space in your home or garage, and they're doing nothing but collecting dust. If you're truly using them regularly, that's different. But if you're holding on to them because of what you thought you'd do with them, rather than what you actually do, it's time to be honest. Selling before retirement means you can convert these items into cash while they still have some value. The psychological freedom of letting go of unused equipment is real too. You stop feeling guilty about not using them. You clear out space in your home. You convert items sitting idle into money that can be working for you. List them on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or have a garage sale. Even if you only get a few $100 total, that's a few $100 you didn't have, and it's space and mental clutter you've cleared out. Sixth is collectibles and items of value that you've accumulated over the years, but don't have a deep emotional attachment to. Maybe you have coins your father left you, sports cards from your childhood, figurines or porcelain you inherited, old vinyl records, vintage tools, or antiques that have been sitting in storage. If these things are meaningful to you and bring you joy when you look at them, that's different. But if they're packed away in boxes or the attic because you think they might be worth something, now is the time to find out. The market for collectibles varies wildly. Some things you think are valuable aren't worth much, while other items might surprise you. Either way, selling while you're still working means you have time to research values, find buyers online or locally, and get fair prices. Don't wait until you're desperate for cash and have to sell quickly at whatever price someone offers. This also applies to jewelry you never wear, old watches, silver sets that stay in the cabinet, or china you're saving for special occasions that never come. They're not doing you any good sitting unused. Converting them to cash before retirement gives you more financial cushion and fewer possessions to worry about. Your adult children probably don't want these items anyway, so you might as well benefit from their value now. Seventh is life insurance policies that no longer serve their purpose. When you had young children and a mortgage, life insurance was essential protection. It ensured your family would be okay financially if something happened to you. Now, if your kids are grown and independent, your house is paid off or close to it, and your spouse would be financially secure with Social Security and other assets, you might not need that coverage anymore. Term life insurance can simply be dropped, which stops the premium payments and frees up that money for other uses. Whole life or universal life policies are more complex because they've accumulated cash value. You can surrender these policies and take the cash value, which might be several $1,000s or more, after decades of payments. Or in some cases, you can sell them through something called a life settlement. This isn't a decision to make lightly, and it's worth talking to a financial advisor who can look at your specific situation. But many people approaching retirement are paying hundreds of dollars a month in premiums for life insurance they don't actually need anymore. That money could be going toward your living expenses or building your emergency fund, instead of paying for a death benefit that's no longer necessary for anyone. The money you raise from selling these items might not be life-changing, but it can be significant. A second car could bring in several $1,000s plus save you ongoing costs. Household items and collections could add up to hundreds or even thousands more. Life insurance surrender value could be substantial. Downsizing your home could free up tens of thousands in equity. All of this adds up to real money that strengthens your retirement position. More importantly, simplifying what you own before retirement means you're entering this phase lighter, with less to maintain and worry about, and more freedom to focus on what actually matters. That clarity and simplicity are worth more than holding on to possessions you don't truly need, and selling before you retire is how you make that transition on your own terms, from a position of strength rather than necessity. None of these 7 things is automatically wrong to keep. The question is whether each one serves your retirement life and budget, or whether it's a remnant of your working years that no longer makes sense. If you genuinely use and need something, keep it. But most people hold on to far more than they actually use, and all of it costs money either directly or indirectly. The point isn't to sell everything and live like a minimalist. The point is to be strategic and honest about what you own, what it costs to maintain or insure, and whether it aligns with your retirement reality. Every asset or possession you hold on to has both benefits and costs. Before you retire is the time to evaluate those trade-offs and make conscious decisions rather than just carrying everything forward by default. Think about your retirement budget and what you'll actually be living on each month. Look around your home and your garage and ask yourself what you really use versus what's just there out of habit. If something isn't serving you, if it's costing money you could use elsewhere, if it's taking up space or mental energy without providing equivalent benefit, consider selling it now while you have the luxury of time and choice.